shallow, making it really irrelevant. If you look at the floor, you go up 20, 15, 20 avatars, it's double the value of what it is now. If you look at the floor of our land, you go up 4 or 5 parcels, and it's 50% higher. So again, I'm speaking about numbers that are really irrelevant because the floor is so thin. But notwithstanding that, I would like to compare where we are to the general market, which I think is very important. On April 27th, and to provide this perspective, on April 27th, we minted to our winner circle at 0.15 and to the general public at 0.2. The combined value of our assets from that mint are trading at approximately 0.4 ETH right now. That's nearly a 200% gain, or 3 times return for winner circle participants, and 100% return, or 2x the value for the public. The so-called blue chip projects, which are the leading indicators in the NFT world, and I just took a small selection, but I could have taken 10 more projects. And if you look at each one of them during that same period of time, on April 27th, Bored Apes, the floor was 158. This morning, the floor was 80. That's a 49% loss of the number one project in NFTs. Moonbirds, another massive project. The floor was 27 ETH on April 27th. It's now 13.88, or a 49% loss for holders of Moonbirds. Doodles, another iconic project, went from 19 to a floor of 8.5 today, or a 55% loss if you were unlucky enough to buy one on that day. And CloneX, another iconic project, went from 20 to 7.69, or a loss of 61.5%. In the aggregate, if you combine these projects, and I can take the other 10 behind this, and you'll come up with the same data points, everybody lost over 50% of their money. And everyone in our project has made 100 to 200% on their investment if they came in at our mint on the same day. That's our performance, and that's a massive testament to the value of our project in a period of time where the market is melting down. And that's what you have to look at. You have to look at things on a relative basis. And again, I'm stressing this, even though I'm also stressing from the other side of my mouth that these data points are irrelevant in the short run. But I am addressing it, and I encourage all of you to look at this data and continue to look at it. Okay, moving into updates. I'd like to update everybody on marketing. As I announced in past AMAs, we anticipated dedicating a significant amount of money to spending on marketing. I think I'd mentioned that we were anticipating spending up to $750,000 to grow our community and sell through this mint. Since the market has softened, there are several things that have happened that have caused us to change our strategy a little bit. The first is that we're able to buy marketing at a massive discount to what we used to be able to buy it at. So prices have come down 60 to 80% because there's nobody spending money on marketing, because nobody has money except for projects like us. That's a good thing. On the flip side, less people have capital to invest in projects, and therefore it takes more advertising and more marketing to acquire more users. So there's a bit of a counter effect. Our decision was to reduce the spend, to be more strategic in the way we spend our money, and to ensure that we have the proper tools in place to ensure that we can track every dollar that we're spending, to ensure it's being deployed in the most savvy way. In that spirit, we have slowed marketing down in the short run to get our website optimized, to get our tracking tools in place, and to reassess how we are going to maximize the spend. That has all been done, and we are very close to turning back on the campaign in an aggressive way, in a way that's optimized, where we'll truly be able to track every dollar spent and understand the returns and the cost of acquisition for every new member of our community and every new sale. Um, and I'm very excited for that to finally be here. I'm sure that all of you, if you haven't visited our website, I encourage you to do it. There's a lot of clarity, there's a lot of direction that was lacking, and we're going to continue to optimize that, continue to optimize the brand. There's a lot in the works that you're going to be seeing over the course of the next several weeks that I'm super excited about. And of course, as the market returns and rebounds, we will continue to turn that spigot up. We're buying keyword advertising, we're doing collaborations, we're doing some light influencer marketing. There's a new video that just came out by a guy named John Nellis, who's now a member of our community. He is running a channel for Sorare, which is the leading fantasy soccer platform and one of the, I think, the number one and most successful Web3 game. And he produced a video on our request, which I thought was really good. I would encourage you all to watch it. I posted it on Twitter on my account. It should be reposted on the Silks account, but hope you get a chance to look at that. We have thousands of just some points of data on our activity. We have thousands of unique users that are visiting our site every week. And our goal is, so the top of the funnel is not the issue. People are finding us. Our marketing is working. It's getting them to convert. And that's where we're going to work on optimizing things. On the business development front, which is very closely related to marketing, all of this is designed to drive community. We're working on partnerships both internally within the Web3 community and externally with the industry. On the internal side, we're very close to finalizing partnerships with two major sports brands. One of them is Knights of Degen, and the other one is Vayner Sports. And I expect to have formal announcements for the community on that very soon. Their interest was in building a presence in our metaverse with farm and stables that are branded, and then inviting their community to stake their horses and create essentially a DAO or an entity that operates kind of like a DAO for their communities, and a way to engage, a way to develop shared rooting interest, and another touch point. We think that strategy is really compelling, and we'll start, once we get these up and running, we'll start productizing it, packaging it, and going out and bringing in more communities, and that will drive, again, further engagement and growth within our platform. If anybody within our community has any ideas, if you're a member of a community that you think might be interested in this, please reach out to our marketing department, either through a ticket or in Discord, and we'd love to hear from you. And I'll say that those announcements should be formalized in the next week or two, and that should, and you'll see that there will be a lot of visibility with that. Additionally, we have some major industry partnerships that I've been talking about abstractly. I still cannot disclose where we are, other than they're still in the works. Things with large companies take a lot more time, and especially companies that aren't in the Web3 sphere. But they are progressing, and I'm hopeful that at some point soon we'll be able to share some of that information with you. I'm also excited to announce that we will be pushing out an affiliate and referral program soon that will allow our community to benefit from referring new community members to us and helping us market the platform. So look for that. That's going to be coming soon. There's also a big Discord event that we're working on with some pretty fantastic prizes that should be coming very soon. So look for that. It's going to create a lot of engagement within Discord, and we're going to start focusing on that as we get closer to the horse drop and as we get closer to the launch. And finally, on the marketing front, Troy is speaking at a major gaming conference for the industry at Saratoga next week, and we're like one of the headline uh, uh, platforms. They were speaking. They invited us. Um, they recognize that what we're doing is pretty significant and meaningful to the industry, and pretty much anybody who's anyone within the ranks of the industry will be there. So very excited for Troy's engagement over there. Um, I'd like to just touch briefly on kind of economic developments within the business model. Um, we've been working diligently to enhance and optimize the way our game theory and our economy works. Um, I don't have very specific things to share yet. I can tell you that there are four really cool things that are coming. Um, we're working on some additional utility for land that is not documented yet, but will be and shared soon. That will enhance the value of our land. Um, we are also working on special utility within the stables that's unique to the Skyfall region. That's going to be updated soon. And we're also working on optimizing our token structure and utility in anticipation of the DAO launching. And we'll be sharing that with you. And then finally, we're working on the development of our Skyfalls infrastructure. The initial development of that community from a public facing perspective. And I can tell you that there's some very exciting things associated with that you'll be seeing very soon. So, I'll talk briefly, shortly, I'll talk about an update to our white paper, which will have a lot of this information in it, but we will be doing AMAs as we finalize all of these and tweak all of these adjustments to the model, which are all being done to optimize and enhance the platform and to create value for the community. So all good stuff, nothing major, and there's nothing that's going to have an impact on any of the assets that we have or any of the gameplay, only to enhance it. So look for that in the coming weeks. I was asked to provide some clarity on the OG 5K, and I'd like to do that and kind of put it to bed once and for all so that there is no back and forth with differing opinions on how this all works. The OG 5K was designated to be any holder that bought an avatar prior to the second mint and held that avatar in a wallet. So we extended the period from the initial mint to August 26th or 27th, right before the mint, when we took a snapshot. If you hold an original avatar from the first collection, from the first half of the collection, sub 5K, in a wallet, and it's been held from the day of the second mint onwards, that that transaction is referred to as the OG 5K. And those people, we intend to provide a one-time reward at some point in the future for doing that. And once we do that, and that reward will be a meaningful reward, we're going to close down that designation and everything is going to revert to the Genesis collection, right? We will never produce another avatar within the Genesis collection outside of the 10,000. And those holders will have special privileges that will continue to be documented and special things that will occur for them in the future. But there will be no more designation once this reward is given. And I'm not going to quantify what it is. I'm not going to tell you when it's going to happen, other than that is what the OG 5K is going to get. And once that's done, everything is going to be normalized from there. We think that's a fair approach to rewarding our early adopters. And we also think it's a healthy approach to create uniformity and bipartisanship within the community. So not to have separate factions within the Genesis Avatar collection. Hopefully that's clear to everybody. And if it isn't, I'm happy to take questions on it. A few more items to update the group on. I'd like to talk briefly about legal, starting with the formation of the DAO. So there are two parts to the formation of the DAO. The first part is is the legal part, which is the actual formation of the legal entity that requires lawyers to draft operating documents that dictate how the DAO is governed, um, similar and to bylaws in a traditional corporation. Those are in the works. We expect that to be completed hopefully in the next 45 days. Um, the second piece is the technology. So the DAO, in order for it to operate properly, the technology has to be built to create smart contracts to allow the entity to be able to operate autonomously, through governance associated with the tokens. That is also being built, and the technology is expected to be tied. The launch of the tech is expected to be tied to the launch of the MVP. The significance of both of those things are twofold. One is once the DAO is formed and the technology is created, we will be able to issue tokens. Until that point, we don't have the ability to issue tokens because the tokens come from the DAO. Unlike our initial mint, which we minted directly through the company, our intention is to get this all set up so that we can begin to segregate the flow of our funds to go through the DAO, and then the DAO can reimburse Game of Silks, the company, for the development and all the expenses associated with it. So we want to create a clean flow, and we want to create the ability to start issuing tokens, which will happen with the formation of the DAO. So we'll keep you abreast of that. It's a pretty important thing. It's a pretty meaningful thing for everybody, and we're super excited about it. The second legal update I just want to bring up is as we get closer to the formation of the DAO and to the launch of the game, we want to be cognizant of two things. One is that the regulatory environment in Web3 is in flux and developing every day. What we're doing is incredibly innovative. We've taken various positions on how we're operating the business to conform with the legal environment. And it's really important that we elevate our game to ensure that they're operating correctly and that we're doing the right thing. So, in that spirit, we've hired some of the best counsel out there to go through our documents, to review the way we communicate, and to ensure that we update the way we communicate to provide clarifying language that ensures that we're in compliance with the regulatory landscape and, candidly, the best practices for disclosure. So, in the coming weeks, we will be updating our white paper, our website, things like that, and beginning to use language that provides us with a safer, with a safer and more cautious approach towards ensuring that we're not tripping any legal issues. From our perspective, that's all form. It has nothing to do with substance. So we may choose to use language around some of the functionality that sounds different than something that might trip up regulators. And so look forward to that. And again, all it is a change in language. Substantively, we don't expect to make any changes. We've been guided that everything that we're doing is works within the legal landscape that we are protected around, and so we feel very comfortable about all of that. And nothing there changes. We just want to create another layer of protection. Finally, I'd like to just update everybody on the timeline and our budget, and let you all know that we are on track for the horse drop in late September and the MVP in late October. So we are, I verified with everybody internally and externally that's working on the project. As of yesterday, we are 100% on target, both timeline and budget, which is super exciting. So that means that, over the course of the next month, we're going to have our horses. And over the course of the next 2.5 months or so, our game will begin. And that I couldn't be more excited about that. And then finally, we're going to begin sharing sneak peeks of the development. I've seen a lot of what's coming, and I'm blown away. Every day there's a new innovation um, uh, that I look at, presenting assets, digital assets, and gamification in ways that have never been done before in this space. And I know that when you see some of this stuff, it's going to really be very exciting for you both to see it and to recognize that you belong to this community, that everything that you're looking at is partly yours, and you're partly responsible and associated with this project. So it's going to be a very proud moment for all of us. And I can just tell you, this stuff looks unbelievable. And we're really cutting the edge of technology and doing very innovative things that have never been done in this space before. And in the coming weeks, you'll begin seeing some of this stuff. So with that, I'll just close by saying that we continue to be incredibly excited as a team for what's going on. Um, we are truly operating in unprecedented times at an unprecedented level. This community has delivered enormous value, and candidly, the entire value of our platform is our community. Without our community, there wouldn't be a game of Silks. So we continue to appreciate and be grateful for all of your support, and look forward to continue this journey together. So with that, I'll turn the floor back over to Ben, and we can and Squid, and we can start with any Q&As.
Awesome. Any questions? Wait for the hands to start rolling in.
Did we, Ben, did we ever update the community on the Expoverse? I forgot if we've had an AMA since then.
We did. We talked about it on the stable table, Butters and I, but if there's anything you want to add from it, that'd be great. I don't think you've spoken to the community since then.
I was thinking about it and I wasn't sure, so I didn't put it down in my agenda. But if I haven't talked about it, I can just tell the community that we were the belle of the ball. We were in a show that was supposed to have 20,000 people in it. If there were 3,000 people that showed up, that would have been a lot. This bear market has really hit this industry in a big way, and it was very evident in the show. Notwithstanding that, we were literally overwhelmed for multiple days, and I know Ben, you were there with me, so so you saw it firsthand. We couldn't man the demand, and we were very grateful to have some of our community members join us and help us out. We physically sold at the show dozens of NFTs to people that came by, loved what we were doing, and literally minted on the spot. And I think we probably covered the cost of the show with the sales at the show, if not exceeded it. So it was really a testament to what a quality project can do in a live event. And we were I was blown away by it. And we're working right now on, and I'll share this even though we're not final on it. We're working on a very innovative approach to productizing our NFT into a retail package that could literally be sold at a trade show, so that you could literally walk by, love what we're doing, give us your credit card, and we give you a retail package that looks like it could look like what a video game used to look like when you bought one out of a store like GameStop. And we can hand you a box that you can then literally plug into your computer, and you've got your avatar. So that's something we're working on, and I think this show demonstrated that if we had that in place, we would have probably sold out of whatever we had. So super exciting stuff. Very innovative approach to selling NFTs, and I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks we'll actually be able to test this. So excited about that.
It was a great time.
It really was, yeah, and it was super fun meeting. I probably met a dozen or more members of our community that came, which was awesome.
Awesome. Hey, Ledge, what's going on?
Not much, guys. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Excellent.
Good, good. I got a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify, 'cause I brought it up before, but I still just want to make sure if I understand. If I have 10 pieces of land, are they all going to be together so that I can build a stable?
So the answer is that the short answer is yes. By being a Skyfalls land parcel, uh, the Skyfalls community is the only community where when you get your actual land, so when you take your NFTs of your land and you mint them into actual plots in the metaverse, they will be designated, they're guaranteed to be designated contiguously for you and turned into a farm. Uh, it's the only land parcels that will do that. Our intention is not to offer that to any other communities within the metaverse. So, yeah, the answer is yes.
Okay, perfect. So if I have a farm and a stable, what kinds of things are going to be required? Like feeding the horses, taking care of the land? Like what other costs are going to be associated with that? And also, like, do you have any idea what kind of price range we'd be looking at?
So, the answer to your question is that the farm today will operate on its own, meaning that you don't have to invest to operate it. And the way you make essentially the way you earn rewards or make money with it in the game is by utilizing the farm to house either your horses or other people's horses, or to use the farm as essentially a storefront to sell pieces of your horse to other people. And by doing that, if they're staking their horses with you, they're essentially paying you in kind to house and care for their horse. And the in kind payment is the share of the winnings that they're giving you when their horse wins races. But to maintain the farm itself, there is no out of pocket cost in addition to the cost of the structures, in addition to the cost of the land itself and the formation of the land. That's not to say that at some point in the future, the game may become more complex and create opportunities to do other things with the land that may involve a cost of sorts. But in the current launch of the game, there will be no additional costs.
Sweet. Okay. I got a couple others if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
I know you had mentioned previously about there being other ways to make money within the game, like confirming results of races or things along those lines. What is like, how is that going to work? Is that still an option?
Yeah, that's it's not going to come out for the MVP, but that is on our roadmap. And building and enhancing databases for the benefit of the community is a big part of the project. And that's in the second build. It's not going to be in the MVP.
So is it though? Is it open to anybody? Like anyone can do it to make a little extra money, or is it only a certain number are required, like 10 confirmations of a results? Or
So it's going to operate very similar to the way Bitcoin operates when you mine Bitcoin, right? So in the case of Bitcoin, you have to calculate a complex formula to verify that you actually looked at the data, and the first people to do that receive a reward. In our case, the working theory for the mining piece is that anybody can come in and it just can't be anyone. You have to actually own assets and stake those assets, which gives us the confidence that you're not going to put in bad data. And it also gives us recourse if you do, which is similar to the way Ethereum works in proof of stake, or will work in that regard, and the way proof of stake models work. So you'll have to own assets within our ecosystem to do that. But anybody will be able to do that. And we haven't published all the details around it, and we won't be publishing it for several months. But it will be a way to, to create value within the game.
But it won't be something complex, like some mathematical problem.
Oh, no,
like,
no, no.
Like,
it's going to be literally like you're going to go out and fetch data that, if it resides in our domain, allows us to serve the community in a meaningful way. and you'll be rewarded for that. So our intention is to build a crowd-funded database that is going to be incredible and add massive, massive value to this community. So initially, the community is going to rely on external data. So, for example, when you mint your horse, you're going to necessarily have to go out to research your horse. And there are hundreds of great sites out there that are public that you can do for free. And you'll have that data. Eventually, we want that data to reside within the four corners of our metaverse. And in order for that to happen, we are going to incentivize our community to acquire that information. As they research, they can then populate it on our platform. And we'll have all kinds of tools and things like that. And once you do that, and it's validated through consensus, you'll be rewarded.
So will it be like first come, first serve? Like there'll be a window of you have this
Yes.
much time, and okay.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. One last one. So, for the in-game searching, like similar to like fantasy football, say, where you're looking up Tom Brady and his stats. How's that going to work within the game? Is it going to be basically just similar as to how you would log in to Fantrax or Yahoo or whatever and just kind of look at the stats? Is it going to be that kind of format?
We just lost you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I heard him all right. I'd like to move on though, so we can get through more.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Thanks, guys. Really excited.
No
about the
problem.
content.
I will answer the question. Ben, just quickly because it is relevant. For the MVP, we are not going to have internal search tools related to data that's external to us. But our anticipation is that we will either acquire that data initially, a foundational data set through a licensing agreement, or we will crowdfund it. So, but there's plenty of incredible free access to databases that will provide you with all of that information. It's just an extra step, and we'll point you to it.
Perfect. Thanks for taking the time, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
What's up, Adam?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
So, a quick one here. The mint, since it's ongoing for avatars, could you please post another announcement? Because it seems like the mint, even though 1 ETH is 1 ETH, it's no longer tied to Ethereum. Could you post another announcement that puts it in dollars? Because of the Venly shortcomings, it seems that there's a US dollar cap on each of the batches, currently at $750. So if you can give us the schedule, because the ETH announcement isn't correlated.
So let me just address that. The way Venly works is we've developed a contract that looks at the price of ETH and updates the US value on a daily basis, and also looks at the price of gas and updates and incorporates that into the contract as well. When gas hits a certain level, if it hits a certain level, it stops allowing you to use that because it recognizes that nobody sensibly would want to pay for the mint if the gas price is out of whack. So that should be happening automatically. If it's not happening automatically, I'll have Michael, our head of technology, write something up that we can post so everybody understands how it works.
Okay. Yeah, because on the website it says $750. So I'm just wondering what the next batches are going to be. And the announcement that was posted said each batch is going to increase by 0.04. And I don't know, even the announcement doesn't follow that. So
yeah, I don't know if it's 0.04 or I think it was supposed to say 10%. Our intention was to grow the price of the mint by 10% every batch.
yeah, it would be great to just get it clarifying so I know what the next batch is going to be. And
yep, we're happy to do that, and we'll get an announcement out for the community.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And
Adam.
then I know you're working on the tokenomics and changing some things and adding some more gravy in there for us. Will that be available prior to the Horseman?
I believe that we will be updating everybody on everything prior to the Horseman. Yes, there are 4 or 5 things, as I mentioned, that involve game theory and involve tokenomics and our intention is to communicate all of that to the community prior to the Horseman.
Okay, good. Yeah, because that is really important to me in particular. To spend more money on horses, I'd like to know how much I can earn.
Yep, understood.
And then I know you're working on the DAO still. I talked to Ben in the Discords here. Can you give us an amount that's in the DAO or anticipated to be in the DAO prior to Horseman?
So our intention is to create the legal entity, to create simultaneously the technology and the contracts associated with it. And once those spin up, our intention is to publish the value in the DAO as it fluctuates so that everybody can see it. Right now, there is no DAO because it hasn't been formed yet. So all the capital goes through the smart contracts to the company, and the company spends that money directly. Once the DAO is formed, our intention will be for everything to flow through the DAO to the company as opposed to going straight to the company. And then our anticipation is as capital in the DAO exceeds the cost of operating the platform, that's when we're going to start seeing the value from, the intrinsic value within the DAO grow. I can't tell you when that's going to happen. I anticipate it should happen as early as the Horseman, and at the latest point at the launch of the MVP.
Right. Yeah. My question wasn't about timing. I get that it's being worked on, but like right now, before we mint, right before you announce prices for horses, etc., what's in the fund right now? How much have you spent versus how much are you going to give us as a community to have? I'm trying to get to a liquidity pool amount, something. Again, it's going into my calculations for
Understood.
do I mint horses or not,
Understood. So I anticipate that we will be publishing information for everybody around that, right around that time.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Adam. G. Holm.
Hey guys, thank you all again for everything that you do and for bringing us information. I just wanted to know, Dan, if you could comment any on the progress that's being made for ability to syndicate or split stables, and then you had also mentioned earlier on the land redemptions. I guess I was a little confused. Is there anything allowing more than 10 lands now at this point being considered, or is it still kind of capped at 10 contiguous lands? Thank you.
Yep. Sure. Okay. So as it relates to the first question, we do have the notion of syndicating a farm, so where you can have multiple people owning that asset together and benefiting from it together. It's on our roadmap. It's not part of MVP, but it is on a roadmap. So I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but once the MVP is launched and stabilized and everything's working properly, and obviously, we'll then start looking at, what are the next things that we want to prioritize development in, and that's going to be driven by the liquidity pool, by the cost of development, by the importance to the community, etc. And I can tell you that that's, it's kind of near the top of our list in terms of things that we know the community wants. But I can't give you a date on it right now. As for your second question,
I've never gotten. I feel so special.
As for your next question, you will be able to, as a Sky Falls landowner, combine up to 10 lots at a time that are going to be contiguously designated, which means if you have 20 or 30 parcels, you'll be able to create 3 contiguous sections of 10 parcels each. If you want to combine those into a larger farm, you will have to either sell those pieces and buy pieces that are contiguous to one of the farms, or trade them. But we are not going to offer more than 10 contiguous lots at a time. I've watched the actual algorithm and I've watched the plotting. It's very, very cool stuff to actually see how it works, because it is in development right now and it is being tested. And it's very cool. You'll be able to literally see the formation of the metaverse in real time, as people begin to start, essentially minting their Skyfalls tokens into land.
Thank you for taking that. Can you just comment on that though, as far as is that going to force people to have to create multi-sig wallets outside of the game, or will there be a way in game to do this redemption? I'm really kind of thinking about partnerships that are being formed and the ability to trust other people in here with doing something like that.
So that's a good question. I don't have an answer for it, but I will defer to Michael to actually put something together and respond to it either on the next AMA or in an announcement that will guide everybody to how you could do that. So I don't know technically whether that's possible or not, and but we'll check into it and we'll get you an answer.
Thank you, G-Hole. Shenanigans, what's up?
That's not really what I sound like. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good.
I thought I was on channel mute. Hey Dan, awesome man. Thank you for all the updates. I think it's super valuable that you have the stones to get on and take the heat from everyone. And our whole team here in my office is invested pretty heavily. I have a couple fairly straightforward questions, I think, just 3. These are kind of all related. This one, it's if we have 30 say Skyfalls in our wallet, would we be able to mint a 30 parcel section of land? And if yes or no, would we just build one stable on it? Would it be a bigger stable, or would it be 3 stables on that land? Or would it be better for us to mint 3 10 parcel contiguous and 3 stables? And then if I just think everyone's been talking about it. The land it says there's going to be like attributes and things like that, and I know you probably can't reveal like what it would be, but could you just maybe give some insight into like the type of attributes or how much diversity there'll be in the initial Skyfalls ecosystem?
Sure. Well, first, thank you for being a part of the community and for all the people in your environment, your office that are part of this. So the first question you asked, I actually answered, and I'll answer it again, which is that we're only allowing 10 parcels to be delivered contiguously. So if you own more than 10 parcels, the balance of the batch, if it's less than 20, will be minted collectively and contiguously into a second set. But it's not guaranteed to be contiguous with the first set, which means that if you want to have a larger farm, you'll have to find a way to trade the land or sell the land and buy other land that's contiguous to you. And that's part of the gameplay, but we wanted to create value for our initial community, and that's why we created this mechanism within Skyfalls. As far as the attributes, rarities, and such within the land, we're not in a position right now to share very much with you, other than to say that the Skyfalls designation in and of itself is going to have significant rarity in itself, and that there may be additional attributes within the land that is not visible at the moment that may provide different benefits and gameplay within the game in the future. And that could involve zoning. It could involve structures. It could involve a variety of other things that will create enhanced value through uniqueness, rarity, utility, etc. I see that Benny is on stage. I don't know, Benny, if you have any other comments on this that you'd like to share with the community. And
Dan, I'm just coming up here to make sure you don't share too much.
Hey, Benny.
Hey guys. Yeah, no, I get excited when people ask, about that in general, and I just want to make sure there are a lot of things in the works. We're finalizing specific details, and I want to make sure we don't disclose too much information as everything is, comes together. So, I think everything you said, Dan, is great.
Okay. Awesome. And then I had 2 questions. One of them you probably can't answer. One was the in-game currency. how would we monetize that out of the game? And the other one was the marketing campaign that I think you talked about 2 AMAs ago. We are vested interest in that just because we're an ad agency, for if you didn't hear that through the chain yet. So we're looking at like the marketing strategy and the Web3 marketing ecosystem in general. And I'm just curious to hear if there's any more details on what will be going on with that. And then I'm good. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so let me answer the first question, which was the monetization. And I'm going to have a whole AMA recapping the ecosystem and the tokenomics in great detail to refresh everybody's understanding and to ensure that everybody truly understands the economy. But I'm going to answer your question, and hopefully everybody will really benefit from this knowledge. The way we have a very unique ecosystem and tokenomics that there's not a single company out there that has done this yet. And it takes from some of the best practices across different, companies, both in Web3 and outside of Web3. The uniqueness of our economy is a combination of non-inflationary tokens, so tokens that are capped, and an asset-backed DAO. Those are the two unique elements that make us different from everything. It's also the and the most important thing, which is going to answer your question about monetization, is because our tokens are capped. The DAO necessarily has to replenish those tokens when they're fully distributed. So, and I'll go into much more detail on this in an AMA specific to this once we announce the enhancements in the token structure. But what I'll say is this: when the DAO runs out of tokens, it necessarily has to go back in the market to replenish the tokens. And where do those tokens come from? They come from people that are holding the tokens that have earned them. So the DAO is the natural customer creating massive demand for the tokens. The best example of where this is done today in Web3 is a company called Brave Technologies. Brave Technologies is a web browser that provides privacy to you, and that is native to Web3. If you choose to accept money to give up your privacy, they will serve ads to you, and they will pay you 70% of the revenue they receive on the ads they serve you. They pay you in a token called BAT, or Basic Attention Token. That token is also capped and non-inflationary. In order for them to pay you, they have to go into the market every time they pay you to buy the token, because they don't hold any in their treasury. The BAT token is already been fully distributed. So they have to go out into the market, buy it, and then they transfer it to you. That transaction creates intrinsic organic demand, which creates the essential value in the token. Because it doesn't really matter what the utility of the token is. If somebody has to buy it to redistribute it, it's going to be valuable. And so that's exactly what we're doing. Eventually, the DAO is going to have to go back into the market and buy tokens to redistribute them to future winning owners of future winning horses. And when that happens, people that choose to sell them have an outlet to sell them. That is the natural path to liquidity. Other paths to liquidity that we anticipate will take place is initially we expect that people will create swaps on independent exchanges and on dexes where they're willing to make a market in the token, and the DAO may do that as well. So I anticipate that as the community grows, we'll start seeing that, and eventually the token may be listed on a major exchange. So those are kind of the paths that we see theoretically taking place. Does that answer the first question?
Yeah, that is. I thought you were totally gonna stonewall me on that. Thank you. Yeah, that provides a ton of insight on that. And all the guys here were sitting nodding, saying, "Yeah, we thought that there'd have to be a free market. They'd have to be able to go out on other exchanges." So that's really cool to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean it's one of the most elegant models. When you have to buy back your own token to redistribute it, it's pretty much guaranteed, that there's going to always be demand for the token. So we're excited about that. Your second question about marketing, what I can tell you is that we have a dedicated marketing department that uses all kinds of strategy and resources to go out there and place advertising, measure the advertising, etc. I can't give you real, nitty gritty details on that on this call, but if you think that if you'd like more information about it and you could potentially add value to our process, would love to have an offline conversation or connect you directly to our marketing team, and we'd be happy to share what we're doing and get your thoughts and see if there's any value you can add to us.
We would love that. I appreciate it. Thanks again for your time. I think it's awesome that you take and do these answers and the AMAs and everything. It's great.
Absolutely. The head of marketing is a guy named Abe, and if you email him at abe@silks.io and copy me, I'm sure that we'll be able to set something up.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Yep, you're welcome.
What's up, Ben?
Hey, man, it's tough to get on stage here. How is everyone?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm awesome, man. It's a pleasure to be on with Dan. Dan's always very knowledgeable. He always comes prepared. That's why I enjoy these spaces. But my main question is, because a lot of them were answered while I was waiting, is are there any partnerships that you can kind of let us in on that maybe have formed? Because I'm sure a lot of the racing industry has kind of caught on a little bit as to what we're doing here, and I'm sure they want to find ways in. Have people reached out to you to try to find ways to get in and form partnerships with us here at Silks?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I've talked very elusively, and I'm going to continue to be elusive as it relates to the industry. I'll say I'll keep it very high level and say that everybody in the industry is interested in what we're doing and is interested in figuring out how to get involved with us. This industry is a very small industry. It's a very political industry, and it's very important that we sequence our onboarding of relationships in the right way. There are a variety of companies, private, public, large, medium, small. All of them have value that can be delivered to us, and they're all connected in a pretty tangled web in a very fragmented industry that kind of represents itself as a collective body, even though it's not. So the short answer is that we're talking to everybody. The short answer is that everybody is really excited about what we're doing and the prospects of what this could mean for the industry. Because if we are successful, we literally will bring potentially millions of new people into horse racing, which is desperately needed. And we're providing an on-ramp to the entire industry into Web3 in a cohesive way that's turnkey. So yes, everybody's talking to us, and we're at various stages of conversation with various, with the players. And I can tell you that my anticipation was that we would have had announcements much sooner than we expect them to come out. But again, in sequencing the partnerships in the right way, it necessarily means that the most complex partnerships are going to be the most valuable in the beginning and create the momentum that's needed to bring the entire industry on board. And so we're just waiting for that to all happen. So sorry to be not more direct in terms of being able to name drop and things like that, but it's inappropriate right now because until we have a paper deal and can go to press with it, we're just not going to share that information yet, other than to tell you that, we don't need many deals to create a very big momentum and value of our platform, and they're imminent. I mean, I'm pretty confident that this is all going to come together as we anticipated it in a very short period of time. So I'm excited to share it at the right time with you. That's on the industry side. On the Web3 side, I did mention in the AMA today, one of the topics was internal partnerships, and I did mention that Vayner Sports, which is AJ and Gary Vaynerchuk's project. AJ runs it, I think. That we're working on a partnership with them that will be announced hopefully in the next week or 2 weeks. We're very excited about that. They've got a very relevant community that we think is a good fit, and we're doing some really cool things that we think will model. We'll create a model that we can replicate for other communities. We're also working on a partnership with Knights of Degen, which is a gaming community with another leading NFT in the sports space. And so I'm hopeful that those deals will get done very quickly, and we'll be announcing them, and we'll start bringing in. There's a little bit of overlap within both communities, but we're hoping to grow that and to give both communities a really nice presence within the metaverse.
Awesome. I think to piggyback, it's kind of a similar question. Was more along the lines of, have any racing teams other than, like, say, Tropical Racing, have they come forward to kind of say that yes, we are avatar holders and we are part of the game?
So again, there are a lot of people that are involved with us from within the industry. There are a lot of people that own avatars. We're talking to the tracks, we're talking to the technology companies, to the media companies, we're talking to the farms, we're talking to the breeders, we're talking to the auction, we're talking to everybody, and everybody is aware of what we're doing. We're a pretty big deal right now within the industry. The industry was first exposed to Web3 with Zedrun, and they didn't really pay much attention to them. They tried doing some things with them, and they weren't very successful. And so they've been steeped in it a little bit early on, and now they're seeing what we're doing, and they're really super excited and want to figure out the right way to get involved with us. So the answer is yes across the board. There are plenty of people within the industry that are avatar holders and are part of our community. Nobody yet that we can talk about a partnership with, but hopefully very soon.
No, I appreciate that, Dan. Thank you for answering.
Yep.
What's up, Derek? Looks like you're going to be closing us out today.
Sounds good. Thank you, Dan, again for coming on and communicating all these things with everyone. It's really helpful. And my question is in relation to the Horseman. Everyone has questions to that. Could you just go over briefly what are the advantages and disadvantages to having a lower price for that Horseman and selling all of them out versus maybe a higher price? Obviously not getting into specifics, but just in general, or having a higher price in that. What are the advantages to those two scenarios?
So, Derek, that's a great question to close out with. And it's a good opportunity for me to reinforce a few things about the economy that I think can be confusing to the community. So thank you for asking the question. The way this game works is think of I'll just use our government as an example. The United States, up until I think the Nixon administration, its currency was backed by gold, meaning that every dollar that was printed had to have a dollar equivalent of gold in the Federal Reserve. And it also meant that you had a right to bring in your money to the bank and convert it to gold. They'd give you a gold certificate. That's how most Western governments, first world governments operated. And that model ensured that you can't really have inflation because the currency is actually backed by a real asset. We moved away from that at some point, and now we have a government that can print money whenever they want to. The problem with that is that it gives the government control to essentially shift wealth in any way they want to, and to control the economy in any way that they want to. Our economy operates in the similar way as our government used to operate, in that we have a Federal Reserve that ensures the stability of our community and of our platform, so that the more money we have in the Treasury, the more we can spend on developing the platform, supporting the platform, growing the platform, and the more capital we have to be able to acquire and redistribute our tokens as necessary. That's a very lofty description of the economy. Now, how that translates to the Horseman, and the question you asked, is very simple. There's the concept in the public markets of liquidation value. So when you look at a company, a public company, it could be a private company as well, but we'll use a public company as an example. If you took a public company and sold all of its assets for cash, so let's say it was an operating business, it shut down the factory, it sold off all of its equipment, or it sold its asset to another company, it now has cash. Let's say that public company has $100 million in the bank now, and it has 100 million shares outstanding. The theoretical value of each of those shares, based on the liquidation value of the company, is $1 a share. Because if everybody liquidated their stock, if everybody said, I'll take my share of what's in the company in exchange for my stock, the company would shut down and distribute its money to everybody, and you'd get $1 for your share. And therefore, in that scenario, if the public market is not valuing that stock at $1, eventually somebody will figure it out and arbitrage and buy it if it dips. So if the stock is trading 50 cents, why wouldn't I buy it for 50 cents? Because I can double my money. In our economy, it's the same thing in a theoretical way, right? Every dollar that sits in the Dow, right, essentially is governed by a token. In our case, the SLK token. And theoretically, if the community of owners of the SLK token banded together and said, we want to shut this down and liquidate the Dow, they could do that in the same manner that shareholders could acquire enough shares to do the same thing to the public company. Instead of keeping the money in the company, they just want to shut it down or distribute it as a dividend. Well, in a theoretical sense, that could happen in a community, in a DAO community, in a DAO-based community. And therefore, your token is theoretically worth, at liquidation value, its pro rata share of what's in the DAO. If you charge more money for the horses, right, you're putting more money into the DAO. If you charge less money, you're putting less money into the DAO. It all is going to come out on the other end in the form of the value of SLK, which in part is going to be driven by the liquidation value. In reality, because this is a long-term game, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as it really doesn't matter how much money is in the DAO on day one, as long as there's sufficient capital to operate the platform. And that over time, as the community grows, the value of the DAO will grow, the value of the assets will grow. And we're talking about a very long period of time. These horses that are going to be dropped in the next month are going to start racing as early as April of next year. They're not going to breed for several years, and their offspring are not going to sell for a long time, right? We're talking about probably a 4-year cycle. And if you end up holding that horse for that period of time, and in 4 years from now, those horses are minting at 10 times the price of today's horse mint, you're going to get a really big return in tokens relative to what you bought the horse at. But that takes time. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. And it's not designed, and we certainly are not selling this as a investment that would violate securities law. We're a game, and the game can create monetization, and that monetization can come from the value of the assets and the theoretical value of the tokens relative to what's in the DAO. So, from my perspective, it would be great to have a game with more value in it up front, but I'm also not as concerned because I know that value will come if we're successful. Because as this community grows, it will naturally have to come. There are only 1,000 horses that we can sell if we stick with the US every year. Once this community grows, to holders north of that number, and that will happen if we're successful, and it will happen pretty quickly. I mean, just look at fantasy sports. Daily fantasy sports has hundreds of millions of people that are playing that game. When they started in 2009, that's 12 years ago, 13 years ago, there were hundreds of people probably that started the game, and then thousands, and then it rapidly hockey sticked, right? They jumped in. I remember when I played my first DFS game. The same thing is going to happen here. If we're successful, this thing is going to hockey stick. We don't know when that's going to happen. It could happen out of the gate. It could happen in a year. We don't know. But what we do know is if it does happen, if we provide a world-class gaming experience that's tied to a social element through the community, an economic element, a fun-to-play element, this thing is going to take off. It has to. And if it does, and when it does, the organic limitations to what we can provide will necessarily make things grow in value. In fantasy sports, when you play DFS, millions of people own Tom Brady. In our game, there's only one person in their syndicate that can own a horse. And so we're naturally scarce. And that's a very, very unique thing that's unique to us. Even Sorare, which is this great soccer NFT game that has become very successful, there are thousands of people that own an Mbappe or Ronaldo or Messi. In our case, the thoroughbred equivalent can only be owned by one person that governs it and 9 other people through a syndicate. It's that simple. Now, another 100 people can own it through a staking pool, right? A farm where it's staked. So if you have a horse staked in a farm with, 100 people, with 100 horses, more than, you're going to have 100 people that touch that horse's economic value, right? In gameplay. So there are ways to get there, but we're getting there through a very different mechanism than traditional fantasy. So I gave you a long-winded answer. The short-winded answer is it doesn't matter in the short run. It will matter in the long run. And it's just a question of where we want to start. We want the horses to be something that everybody can buy one way or another, right? Whether you're buying a whole horse or whether you're sharing it with somebody else. It has to make sense relative to the risk that's involved in owning a single horse and people's willingness to play at that level. And ultimately, it's supply and demand, and the market will tell us and the community will tell us, which is, why we formed committees, and, we're getting that information. I expect that we will be publishing information fairly soon, given that the mint is going to take place likely in 6 weeks or so. We'll be publishing that information very soon. So, and we'll go through the logic and all of that as well. And again, remember, there are multiple points of entry. So because of the nature of this industry and our simulation of it through syndication, it will allow people to enter at any level. So, we've capped the syndication model to 10 people, which means that, and I'm just making these numbers up. If the horse was, if the horse mint was $100, then 10 people buying it at $10 a piece. If it's at $1,000, 10 people are buying it at $100 a piece. If that horse is going to have minimum productive racing life of 2 years, let's call it 3 years, you're talking about, if the horse was $1,000 and you owned 10% of it, you're talking about investing $100 in an asset that's going to be performing over a 3-year period, or $30 a year to own that horse. That's kind of how we look at it. When I look at fantasy, and I play in a fantasy league, in a season fantasy league, I look at my buy-in over the course of 17 games. And I think about it and I say, okay, am I comfortable, spending this money for that entertainment over those 17 games? And I think we have to price it in a way where people are going to feel comfortable, and there are going to be enough people within the community that are willing to play at that level. And that's how we're going to start the game. So.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you, Dan. This has been a great AMA. I just want to
Yep.
close it out before we get too long. Anything else you want to say as we close
Yeah,
out?
no. I just want to say that, again, those were all theoretical values. We have not finalized, the order of magnitude of the pricing yet. And again, I just want to, and I'm going to start opening and closing these conversations with, this is a game. I'm not providing any investment advice. Everybody should understand the risks associated with the NFT marketplace, with playing a game like this in general. I think we have one of the most incredible projects out there. I think that as more and more people find us, we will grow organically. And as soon as this game launches, the word is going to get out, and I think we'll see a hockey stick at some point where we'll be recognized in a more meaningful way for what it is that we're doing. So super, super excited. So much to share. I know we took a lot of time on this call. I don't think I've done an AMA this long yet. There was a lot of information, a lot of questions, and we'll continue to come out with them. So look forward to some really meaty stuff over the next couple of weeks. And thank you all for taking the time today, and look forward to connecting again shortly.